Welcome back. Today we combine all the things that we've learned in this unit, put them together to make your own Choose Your Own Adventure game. Along the way we'll learn a couple of other really neat skills, like the ability to add audio to your pages and the ability to make an image linkable. Oh, sounds like fun. Let's get started. Okay, we'll do that. We'll begin by reviewing exactly what the Choose Your Own Adventure game kind of works like. And if you remember, we begin with some sort of a game plan. The basic idea is we think of an adventure as a series of nodes. A choose tool is the first node. Every node gives you an opportunity to make a choice or two, and in those choices, well, when you choose one of those choices, that transports you to a new node. There's a lot of ways to do this, but since you know how to do links in HTML, what we can do is a very simple mechanism. We can just say, hey, let's make a web page for every one of those nodes. And when they click on a choice, we'll just use the HTML linking mechanism to move to another node. We can use the web browser itself as this really cool kind of choose your own adventure setting. And we don't have to learn any really complicated programming languages yet. How cool is that? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. And before you get started on your own game, you should do a drawing kind of like this. I mean, obviously don't make it like mine, make your own game. But get an idea of what your various nodes are and how they're going to be related, and then you're going to want to think about what kind of art and audio assets you may want for each of them. You're going to have to draw some pictures, take some pictures. How's that going to work? Do you need to record some video? How are you going to do that part? I'll show you some tools you can use for some of that as we go. But you're going to start with a diagram kind of like this. It could be crayon, I don't care. But just have an idea where you want it to go. Now we have an idea of what we're wanting to do. Let's take a look at the game from the user's point of view and see what new things we have to add. So we're going to start with this begin.html. And you can say, okay, well, that's at the beginning. Now this is a page we've already seen. This is the page that we've been building throughout the unit. It's got, HTML text, it's got an external CSS, and it's got a link to begin your adventure. Oh my goodness, I can hardly wait. Let's do it. So I click on Begin Your Adventure, and there we go. Now this page is interesting because it has count them, three images. And what else is interesting is that, of course, we've got the confused Goo, I love that picture, in the middle. And then we've got two other pictures. Well, this picture, oh look, I've got the hand of clickiness. So when I click on this one, I can go someplace else. Wait a minute, that image was a link. How does he do that? Well, it's magic, but if you act now, he'll tell you exactly how it works. So that image is clickable, that image is clickable. This is a really nice thing because now we don't simply have to make our images or our links to be text. If you want your links to be images, for example, I'm clicking on software or book, or the fluffy zombie bunny of doom, or whatever it is I'm clicking on, great, we can do that. If you're making games for kids that don't read, okay, we can use pictures. So this is a pretty exciting technology. Let's take a look at how this is done, and then we'll look ahead at how we add audio to them. So I'm looking at the source code of this page, and you can see that it looks very similar to the pages we've done before. Most of the HTML elements are the same. I'm using the same JavaScript. But if you look at the images, there's something interesting about them. First, and these lines here, 18 to 21, I've got this ahref business. Okay, we know that. That's about making a link. And it's pointing to software.html. So when I click on that link, I'll go to software.html. The interesting thing is what text is in between the A and /A. Well, there's no text at all. What is there? HTML code for adding an image. Oh, cool. So you see, if I put an image inside an A/A pair, that image becomes the link. Oh, that's so cool. It really is. And it's fun because this is the foundation for making any kind of game you want. We can just put images up there and put the images inside links to make the user go to a new spot when they click on that image. Oh, that's so much fun. And then we have this other one, ahref is book.html. That's got the dummies ping image, and when you click on it, well, it takes you to book.html. Isn't this fun? Yes, this is fun, and it's really not difficult. So we can add images to our pages and do some neat things with them. Well, let's go ahead and go to one of these and see how we add the sound effects. So on this page, you can see we've got the angry guy there. He's looking pretty mad. And somehow we're going to get that sound effect in there. Okay, listen, this is kind of fun. Obviously, that was a highly paid voice actor. There's the little sound. And that's kind of cool. And look at all these doohickeys. We've got a play button. We've got a little scrubbing feature. We can change the volume. That's neat. So I can switch the volume around or mute it. And it even tells me where I am in the clip. Boy, that looks like hard programming. Well, let's look at the source code and we'll see how it works. Okay, once again, it looks pretty similar. We've got a single image in there. And then the other thing I've got, after the image, you'll notice this BR. That's not 100% necessary. But all I'm doing there, BR stands for break. That's like forcing a carriage return in there. Hey, put the next thing on its own line. It's just a nice thing. I thought it looked better. Now, we take a look, and it probably won't surprise you that the audio is encapsulated in an audio/audio pair. No, that doesn't surprise me at all. And how do we get all those controls? Well, we say audio controls equals controls. Okay, so we're just saying, hey, turn on the controls. If you said, if you don't put this part in, it says, oh, you don't want controls. So that's not very sensible for this kind of page, because how will the user ever play it? Later on, we'll embed audio through, say, JavaScript code. We won't want to show the controls. But in ordinary HTML, we usually want to let the user play it and stop it. So that turns the control on. Now, inside audio, we've got something interesting going on. Now, before we move on, the audio tag, this is an amazing thing to me, because in the earlier versions of HTML, there was no easy way to get audio. It was really messy. You had to use Flash or the embed tag and QuickTime, and it was nasty. It was an awful, awful thing. So the good news is HTML5 now has an audio tag, and the audio tag works pretty well. You can just tell it, hey, here's my audio file, and it plays it. But there's bad news. The bad news is the browsers, they can't agree on what kind of audio file they're going to play. Yeah, it's just like those guys. So, great, we can all do audio, but some browsers use the MP3 format. You've probably used that before on your phone or whatever. It's a very common audio format. It's nicely compressed. But it has a couple of legal issues, and so not everybody uses it. There's another format out there called OGG. The full name is OGG Vorbis. I could not make this up if I tried. And it's a really neat format because it's produced by a group which wants to prove that it's always going to be free. And so there doesn't have encumbrances. It's got some neat technical characteristics. It sounds just as good. Here's the thing. We don't care really, right? But some browsers like OGG and some browsers like MP3. Some browsers say, I'm only going to play your audio if you bring me an OGG. And others will say, forget your OGG, I only do MP3s. So how are we going to make this work for any browser? We say, fine, a pox on both your houses. Here's an OGG, here's an MP3. You can have one of each. Just pick it. Leave me alone. That's kind of how it goes. You like the Shakespeare quote? You know, we're classy right here. All right, so what do? Inside the audio, I have two sources. And the sources are for mad.ogg and mad.mp3. And in a moment, I'll show you an audio editor I can use to save it to both formats. It's really not a big deal. You know, you just record it, and many of the tools, the tool I'm going to recommend, it's just as easy to save it in either format. I'll just save it twice. Once as OGG, once as MP3. And then I'll just tell it to put them both in there, and it'll play whichever one it can. That way, the vast majority of browsers will be able to handle this. One more thing that I put in there besides the sources is an anchor. And what that anchor does is, if nothing else works, it'll put a link there. And so the user can click the link and hopefully something will work. The thing is, we don't know exactly what will happen. It'll try to download it and play it in whatever audio player it chooses. That's a pretty dangerous way to go, but at least it's a fallback. So if nothing else works, they could at least click on it and get something. So this is the basic way of doing audio in HTML5. It's pretty cool, really. So we now have this mad sound that I can play, and as soon as the user clicks on the play button, it'll play that sound. You take a look at the other one. Well, we don't want to end on the unhappy, right? So we'll come back here, begin the adventure again. Oh, I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to go that guy. That's a good-looking fella there. All right, so we'll click on the book, and oh, we choose to read the book. Yeah, this one's just as cheesy. I'm making me a game. Well, that sounds just like that guy. All right, so this one works exactly the same way. You seen it? Yeah, it sure does, because it's really the same idea. I just changed the content, so it's a different image, it's a different sound effect. Which, of course, begs the question, how do I get images and sound effects? Well, that's a very good question. And there's a lot of answers to it. In terms of images, you either take the pictures, you get them from some public domain source. I have a few I'll be showing you later. You can draw them yourselves. That's actually my favorite, although I'm a terrible artist. It turns out it's not too difficult to come up with new things. Let me show you how I did the Goo images. I used a free open source tool called Inkscape. And this is what's called a vector drawing program. And the way that those work is that you can take very simple shapes and use them to build something more complex. So this whole deal was actually just a bunch of circles that I just deformed and changed their shape and size and stuff. And so the whole Goo, all of the Goo images are really just a bunch of circles. So a person even like me who has no particular artistic skill can still make some pretty cool images by using a tool like this. Some of the other images, like the book, I did with another free tool called GIMP. I'll put links to both of these on the page so you can play around with them if you want. GIMP is a lot more like, say, Photoshop. It's a much more powerful tool, which means it's a little intimidating. But I have some resources for how to learn how to use it if you want to. When it comes to audio, I use a free tool, which is available for any platform, called Audacity. Audacity is neat because, well, it allows you to record audio, and you can save the audio in both of the formats we need, MP3 and OGG. So here's the audio as I recorded it. And we can do neat stuff. I can put special effects in it. I can echo, you Google audio father, and whatever. Play it backwards and so on. I could do all that sort of stuff. Typically I don't, but if you need to clean it up or amplify or so on, we can do all those kinds of effects. So there we go. How do we actually make our game then? Well, what do? You start with your plan, and then you take your plan, and, okay, let me get back there. There we go. You start with your plan. You figure out all your resources. You build all your assets. Typically, I'll make all of my images in the PNG format. PNG is one of the common formats used for images. I like it a lot for gaming because it tends to save things in a very tight format, especially the simple kinds of images we tend to use for games. It also supports a very nice form of transparency, which is important so that the images in our sprites and in our graphics don't have to just be rectangles. They can look like other things. And is pretty easy to work with. So PNG is generally my favorite format, so I created PNGs for all of my images. I went and recorded all my audio files. I put them all in the same directory, and I wrote some web pages. So what's your homework? Oh, you don't need me to tell you that. What should you do? You should make a game. Now, don't make one like mine. Make your own. So think of an adventure game you want to make. I would say on your first run at this, go with something that's 5 to 10 nodes. Don't get too much complicated than that, because we got some more stuff to learn. In the meantime, though, learn enough that you can build a really cool adventure game. Design your basic page, design your CSS, put together all your assets, and then link it all together. I cannot wait to see the games that you make. Please, please do this. Don't just think about, oh, that would be cool. Do it. Build a game. Send me a link. I can't wait to see it. All right, in the next episode, we'll start looking at how we can use computer programming languages to add even more functionality to your web pages. It's pretty exciting. Can't wait to see you next time. Take care.